walking alone is a way to ease your mind. But what would you do about the shadows that lurk behind? Don't be afraid of the dark, for this is Tales from Around the Campfire. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to, welcome back to like the second week of October, which I forgot to mention yesterday. And also, welcome back to episode 13. Look at this, two more episodes, and we've concluded a series that will go down in history. Who knows, really? But yes, a very interesting series indeed. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about something, right? We're gonna talk about creepy pastas because why not? I was skimming, because I don't really pre-read these things. Just skimming over some, and you know, I was in the website called CREEPYPASTA.com. Ain't that a beauty? But yes, and we're gonna be reading a couple of things here from this website, right? And most of the creepy pastas are like super long to read, so maybe we're gonna have one. Okay, it's gonna probably go down like this: one, read a full story, and then a couple and we're gonna read like a couple smaller versions of other stories, or two, read two full stories, or three, depending on the time. But yes, here we go. We're gonna be starting this off with the website, like I said, creepypasta.com. All links will be in the description, like I keep saying. And this story is called "My Middle School Had Its Own Variation of Bloody Mary, but She Was Real." It was written by N.B. Smith. Um, and it's like there's a rating system here. It's 8.20 out of 10. And it has a bunch of categories. And it was published on August 13 of this year, 2019. And of course, it also has the estimated reading time of 10 minutes. We will see about that. So here we go. Everybody knows the story of Bloody Mary, and everyone knows how to summon her. Say her name 3 times in front of a mirror with the lights off. Of course, there are slight variations to the exact story depending on where you live, but it's all basically the same, right? My school was no different. A bunch of us girls in the 7th grade would gather up in the bathroom at least once a week, turn off all the lights, and say her name 3 times. Of course, nothing happened, but I always kept my eyes squeezed closed, so even if something did happen, I wouldn't have seen it. We were a bit morbid thinking back on it. I know it wouldn't work, but I also knew that we shouldn't be tempting faith. The urban legend states that she would kill you or scratch your eyes out. So why exactly would we even have wanted to try summoning her? I guess kids do stupid things when they're young, but that's no excuse for how far it went. Like I said, it started with a bunch of us seventh graders doing the ritual in the bathroom closet to our fourth period class. The 6 of us had all met in fourth period at the beginning of the year, and since fourth period was right before lunch, we would all slip away and do our ritual without being bothered. Bloody Mary, or Mary as we began to call her, became almost like a long lost friend of ours. I don't think that my friends knew that I kept my eyes closed though, and I wasn't about to tell them that it was possibly my fault that it wasn't working. Nothing happened at the span of a few months. No Mary appearances, although we tried a bunch of variations, at least until the day that Casey, the unofficial leader of our group, ran up to me in a huff outside before school started. "Hey Nikki," she said, I found a real way to get Mary to appear. I've already told the others, but we've got to meet outside the bathroom by the pavilions to make it work." I tried to question to protest, but the bell had rung and she was already walking away. "Just meet us there, okay?" she called over her shoulder. The bathrooms by the pavilions was the worst It wasn't connected to the main school building, so it had no air conditioning and, even worse, no inside lights. The only source of light was provided by a single flickering bulb and small gates that allowed the sunlight to filter in. And to top it all off, the whole place smelled like a porta potty. Outside bathroom, the outside bathroom was truly awful. But I did as I was told and met the girls right after the bell rang for lunch. Instead of turning the lights off immediately, though, Cassie gathered us all up in front of the row of sinks, gesturing to the middle sink in the row of five. She said, "I finally figured it out. My brother's girlfriend came over the other night, and she said that she and her friends were able to see Mary here, and she lived. Why, why here instead of any other mirror? What did she say happened?" Bethany, Nia, and Erica all spoke at once, and Cassie waved a dismissed hand. She didn't go into such detail because my parents were out and she was going to my brother's room, but she said that we first have to acknowledge Mary's baby and then it'll all work. Mary's baby? I asked, not quite understanding, but definitely not wanting anything to do with the ghost baby. Yeah, that's what she said. It all takes a few days, but she said it will be for sure a work. Okay, how do we do it then? Nia chimed in from the back. I was already somewhat apprehensive being in there, very isolated, very creepy outside the bathroom, but I felt my stomach immediately drop when Casey said, "First, we have to summon Mary's baby." My body instantly wanted to flee, and I wished that I had trusted my instinct. Instead, I stayed silent and let Nia ask, "Wait, I thought that Mary killed her babies, didn't she?" "Well, yeah, but in death, she still wants them," Casey replied. "I guess." "Okay, so how do we do this a baby thing, and why do we have to do it here?" Erica asked, her nose scrunching up at the smell. Casey sighed and said, "I don't know. Tyler's girlfriend said something about the baby being born prematurely and being stuffed down the sink without anyone knowing." Bethany opened her mouth and she said, "But Casey," continued, "I know, okay? I know it sounds dumb, but she said it worked. And what we've been doing hasn't, so we can at least try it, right?" We all shrugged in agreement, and after looking at each other and each of us directly, Casey began again. "Okay, so first we have to have the water on, cold water only." She turned on the tap and pointed at Bethany, who was closest to the door, then locked the door and turned off the lights. When Bethany did so, Casey instructed us all to gather in front of the dirty mirror above the running middle sink. "Okay, now hold my arm like this. Oh, like you're holding a baby. Look straight into the mirror and rock your arms back and forth. While I say the words, we should feel a weight in our arms. And then we have to release it over the sink like Mary did. Ready?" She looked at our she looked at our reflection in the mirror and gave a nod and response to ours and began to recite. Baby blue, your mommy's gone away. Baby blue, please come here to stay. Baby blue, we'll care for you. We're sorry your mommy could not. Baby blue, please come to us. We promise that you won't rot. Baby blue, your mommy's gone, but we will heal your pain. Baby blue, please come to us. Your mommy is insane. The rhyme itself was disturbing, but even worse was the squeal that rang out from the faucet almost as soon as Casey had finished her recitation. Surely it was the sound of a winding pipe, but it sounded sort of like a baby crying. "Now," Casey yelled, and we all released our arms and bolted towards the door. Once safely outside, Casey looked at us and grinned. "I think it worked. We have to do this again every day for the next week or so, but I think it worked." We all looked at each other, unsure of what we all experienced. The same thing, and then Beth spoke. "What was that sound? Was it a baby or just the pipes?" Casey shrugged. I don't know. But once we finish this, it's really going to work. Let's meet here at the same time tomorrow. With that, she turned and began walking to the cafeteria. We all slowly followed. The next day, we met at the outside bathroom again at the same time. This time, when Casey turned on the faucet, the squealing began immediately. It truly sounded like a baby crying, and I was freaked out immediately. But Casey shut down my objections and told Bethany to lock the door and turn off all the lights. As soon as the lights were off, I squeezed my eyes shut. Casey recited her poem and tried my best to block out the sound of the crying baby sounding squeal from the water faucet. What I couldn't brush off, though, was the weight that I had felt suddenly placed in my cradled arms. When Casey said, "Now," I was the first to the door. I tried to ask the girls about it later, but none of them would honestly answer whether or not the pipe sounded like a crying baby, or if any of them had felt the weight in their arms. We repeated this for the next few days, but I no longer cradled my arms. I may have imagined it, but I did not want to feel that way again. After Friday's ritual, Casey grinned at all of us and said, "Monday should be the final one. We'll finally see Mary." We all talked over the phone during the weekend, but Erica was the only one who felt anything similar to the apprehension that I did. She didn't tell the others, though, only me. So when Monday came around, I guessed that I wasn't the only one feeling the growing dread in the pit of my stomach. The clock ticked and the anxiety grew worse until it was finally time. I felt like I was going to vomit. We all met up in the bathroom and followed Casey in. Her confidence seemed to spread throughout us all, and while it did help a bit, I felt like the other girls had gotten the majority of it. I still ended up in front of the mirror, terrified. Casey turned the sink on, and I didn't even wait for Bethany to turn off the lights before I closed my eyes. The sound of the baby crying again, almost at the same time that Casey began to recite the poem. Baby blue, your mommy's gone away. Baby blue, please come here to stay. Baby blue, we all will care for you. We're sorry your mommy could not. Baby blue, please come to us. We promise that you won't rot. Baby blue, your mommy's gone, but we will heal your pain. Baby blue, please come to us. Your mommy is insane. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room in an instant, and I fought to breathe through the hot thickness. I heard someone whimper softly, Erica maybe, but I refused to open my eyes, and so I couldn't be sure. I stood completely motionless with Casey and Nia on my left and Bethany and Erica on my right. And the events that followed are something that I only allow myself to think of it, my darkest moments, but that will always be imprinted in my mind. "Drop the baby," Casey yelled, at the same time that someone on my right began to scream. Shortly afterwards, someone else, I think it was Nia, began to scream as well. "Drop the baby now," Casey yelled again, and through the screams, I heard a new sound. It sounded like an old t-shirt being ripped up, but as if the fabric was wet. "No," someone yelled. And then there was a new sound, a bubbly, gurgling, wet noise. I wrapped my arms around myself and took a step back, away from the other girls. The ripping sound increased in frequency, and the cry of the baby began more shrill. "Mary," I heard Casey shuddered, followed by others screaming. "My eyes!" Someone in the right yelled out, and I couldn't take it anymore. I raced towards the bathroom door, blindly running my hands against it and to find the deadbolt. There was a horrible, wet, snarling sound behind me, and I had just touched my fingers against the cold metal of the lock when I felt something grab me by my shoulder, sending me a sneering pain down my arm. Before I felt my body being thrown backwards, I must have hit my head because I passed out soon afterwards. I woke up in the hospital with my parents by my side. We were soon joined by the police officers who wanted to talk to me about what had happened. My father tried to protest. "She's been unconscious for 5 days and she's obviously been traumatized. Can't this wait?" "Sir, I understand that this is troubling," the officer replied. But how would you feel if you were the father of one of the girls? Please, sir, she may be able to provide crucial information about all of this. My father stepped aside with a sigh and let one of the officers approach my hospital bed. Hi, Nikki, he said with a soft smile. I need to ask you about what went down on the bathroom, about what happened to you and your friends. Did you think that you can do that for me? I nodded slightly before asking, did something happen to my friends? Are they okay? The officer's eyes briefly darted away from me, and I continued, you aren't going to believe me when I tell you, and I didn't see anything anyways because my eyes were kept shut the entire time. I really truly didn't see anything. I promise. I only I only heard things. The policeman continued to smile warmly and said, "It's okay, Nikki. Just tell me everything that you heard then." I told him the entire story about Mary and our ritual, and as I went on, my parents' face became more and more horrified. I was embarrassed and I was ashamed, but mostly I was scared of what may have happened to Casey and the others. Then, when I had finished describing everything, I asked the officer about my friends. He apologized and said he wasn't allowed to discuss it with me. The cops left the room, so I asked my parents the same question, and it caused my mom to break out into tears. I ended up not finding out until a few weeks later when I checked on into an inpatient mental health facility for a mandatory stay of at least 90 days. I had no idea what was going on, but I saw a therapist daily to discuss what went on the bathroom. After the first few days of me repeating the details over and over during a long session, the therapist finally began to discuss what happened to me. Some of my friends had been hurt that day. One of them had died. My therapist really wanted me to name which friend had done this to the rest of us, citing my bruised shoulder as proof of somebody physically uh, in the bathroom had done this. She wouldn't accept my explanation of Mary. I'm pretty sure she thought it was Casey. Little by little, my therapist slipped the detail. I'm sorry, Nikki, but I just can't accept that something supernatural attacked you and your friends. How then could Bethany be blinded but not the others? How could Erica's cheeks be mutilated at nearly the same time? Do you believe that supernatural beings attacked all of you at the same time, but with different attacks, all within just a few minutes? How would that be possible? I had no answer. During another session, she asked, how then could Nia be murdered directly? Uh, besides all of you, uh, besides all of you, if the same entity was attacking both Erica and Bethany, are you sure that you didn't see anything at all? And at another, she said, Nikki, Nia was standing the furthest to the left, right? Not Casey. Her body was cut open into ribbons. You had your eyes closed the whole time. As you said many times, you only recall Casey saying things related to Bloody Mary and the ritual, as you call it. Would it be possible that Casey would have moved without you knowing? Say, to your right side, where Bethany was, is it possible that Casey had something sharp like a pair of scissors? Something to cut both Nia and Bethany. The therapist refused to acknowledge anything I said. She insisted that I just may be confused, hearing Casey's voice on the left and Bethany's voice on the right at the same time. She said that I must have been mistaken when I heard the growling and snarling and the terrified voices of my friends as I fumbled to find the lock on the bathroom door. That I must have seen something and couldn't possibly kept my eyes shut the entire time. The therapist was an idiot, and I continued to tell her the truth. And after 90 days, I was allowed to go home. I had missed Nia's funeral, and I soon found out that Bethany and Erica were leaving the state, while Casey had been charged and held responsible for Nia's death, and subsequently confined to a psychiatric hospital. My parents chose to homeschool me. It's been a decade, and I try not to think about it, any of this. In fact, I was able to forget it for a few years. I was able to live my life normally, albeit avoiding mirrors as much as possible, just living my life and getting by until Casey called me a few days ago. I don't even know how she found my number, but she left a few voicemails and hasn't stopped calling. I listened to one of the voicemails and heard that she wanted, heard what she wanted, and now I'm trying to convince myself that I want nothing to do with any of it. She has a plan set, and I don't want to be involved. I don't. However, I have to admit that I have fantasized occasionally about us all going back and performing the ritual. This time with video evidence. I've always wanted to call Bethany and Erica to ask them what they had saw, but I never found the courage. A part of me truly wants to know what exactly happened that day. Want, Wants to try again and keep my eyes open this time, but I honestly don't think that I could go through it again. Then again, this was written by NB Smith and edited by Craig Groshek. I do hope that I am um, reading your last name correctly. If I butchered it, I do apologize. Wow, this story was pretty interesting. Bloody Mary, eh? But this time she was real. What do y'all think about Bloody Mary? What do y'all think about the rituals you have to do in order to summon her? Would you do it? You know, there's a bunch of movie adaptations of her, right? I believe it was something about urban legends. I believe it was Bloody Mary, the spider that went into like the dude, like the person's cheek, um, and some other ones too. Humans can lick too, or something like that. That's a pretty good movie. You know, pretty interesting. Uh, if you guys haven't watched it, I do recommend you guys check it out. You know what I mean? But yeah, Bloody Mary, man. Oh, this was interesting. This was very interesting. But that one I think went longer than 10 minutes. But you know, it was pretty interesting nonetheless. I am trying to find another one here, another short one. I guess we are gonna do like two long ones, you know, and then we'll call this episode an episode, you know. But yeah, so I want to take this time to thank you guys for coming to this episode. This like I guess creepy pasta special episode, I guess you can say. Um, if you guys are enjoying it, you know, please give it a thumbs up. You know, but you know, I want to also thank you guys for coming to the to Tales from Around the Campfire. Thank you for standing by me. Thank you for sitting next to me in ye old campfire with the, you know, nights turn. I don't know what I'm saying, dude. Listen, that story got me messed up. Oh my god. I mean, yeah, look, you know, like some parents or some adults wouldn't believe you if you would have said, yeah, you know, I kept my eyes closed. But hey, that's just me, you know what I'm saying? I believe. I believe. But yeah, so thank you for coming. You know, I really do appreciate it. And also, listen, uh, you want to hear another creepypasta? A really short one? Ooh, it's about the person that was fiddling with their phones while driving. They didn't make it. That's it. That's your faith right there. But you're gonna be like, oh, but I can multitask. No, you can't. I mean, you can, yes, but you can't do it while you're driving, because you will be thrown off the road, and worse, you could kill yourself or hurt somebody else. And we don't want that. We don't want that. So please put your phones away. You know, that text isn't important. That call isn't important. What's important is keeping you alive and keeping others around you alive. All right. I was walking down the street earlier this morning, and I almost got, you know, I didn't get run over, but I was waiting to cross the street, and guess what I saw? A white, was a white Prius passing by with the, with the girl in there, just texting away and driving. Oh my God, Dad! Please, you know how they have like these technologies of how like the car will stop and stuff like that. I say like the car will turn off completely and shut down as soon as you pick up the phone. You know, that's something right there. If it's made, give your boy some credit. I'm patenting that thing, all right? It's a technology that will shut down the car if the car senses that you pick up the phone. Boom, there it is. I'm done. I'm done with drivers passing by, man. Come on, man. Oh, that's annoying. That's annoying. But yes, we are going to be continuing right after this message. In the same website, creepypasta.com, we're going to be reading a story, and if things go like the other story, like the Bloody Mary story, this will be the last story, like the last creepypasta we'll read. But tomorrow, and probably for the rest of the for the rest of the season, we'll keep reading creepypastas. And for the special, I found some Halloween creepypastas too that we can read. So we'll keep that in mind. But we're gonna be reading the story called Little Dead Nancy, written by the Odd Cat Lady. That's a pretty cool name. Alright, so the ratings here are 9.0 out of 10 from 211 votes. It must be good, right? We'll see. Reading time 9 minutes. We will also see. Little Dead Nancy, sitting on the bench, one eye long, one eye gone. Little Dead Nancy, the red swing's open. Come take a seat and swing with me. I almost completed the summoning of Nancy back when I was a kid. I was somewhere in second grade, and I just moved into a new school. Long story short, parents divorced, mom got custody, and now instead of playing with my friends, I was surrounded by strangers. I had almost made a mistake of sitting on the red swing during recess when I was tackled into the sand by two other girls. Don't sit there. That's Nancy's swing. One of them managed to get out as I squirmed free. Who's Nancy? I glanced around the playground, almost as if I expected to see a kid with a name tag that said, "Hi, I'm Nancy." The two girls the two girls looked at me like I was an idiot before they looped their arms in with mine and escorted me into the jungle gym. There, one of the girls, a red pigtailed girl named Lean, Leon, I have no idea how to pronounce that, told me the story of Little Dead Nancy. The legend went that Nancy was a lonely little girl who had no friends and whose parents hated her, all because she was missing an eye. One day, after being beaten up by the school bully, Nancy went to the swing set and used the red swing to hang herself. Ever since, that swing belonged to Nancy. If I used the red swing, I was just asking to end up like Little Dead Nancy. If one wanted to speak with Nancy, you have to repeat the little poem you read above while you swung in the red or blue swing. Apparently, she starts swinging next to you, and once you recite it, it was unknown what she did to you. But I think, but I think the common conclusion was she tried to murder you. So immediately response. So my immediate response to this was go back to the swing set, plop my butt down the green swing, and started reciting. I attracted quite a crowd with this daring stunt, and I gotten to the second Little Dead Nancy when the teacher called us back in. Quite a bummer to everyone who'd hoped some zombie child would show up and murder me, but I did end up bonding with Leon, I don't know how to pronounce that name, about it. By the next day, I'd all but forgotten about the poem and just settled with playing house with Leon and the other girl, Eileen. I still kept my distance from the red swing as I gotten older. I heard a bunch of stories of what happened to Nancy, though the most common story was she hung herself. Some people say she was murdered by her parents who were tired of having an imperfect daughter. Other stories just said that it was just an accident, that Nancy had been trying to do a loop over the top of the swing set and ended up strangling herself that way. You know, good old kid stuff to keep us spooked. As a sixth grader, I finally went to the fact. I went and fact checked Nancy. Much to my surprise, there had been a death in the playground back in the 70s. But it wasn't Nancy. It was an 80 something year old teacher named Georgia Smith. She just croaked while pushing one of the students to the swing. I did share my findings with Leon, who had almost entirely forgotten about little Nancy and got a real kick out of my sudden morbid curiosity. I didn't really get anyone I didn't really get any more friends other than Leon and Aileen. And after Aileen ended up moving to Florida, all I had was Leon or Lean. I don't know how to pronounce it. It was okay. We always just got each other. When my first dog died, she helped orchestrate a funeral. I confronted her after she had after her very first breakup. I thought we'd end up being friends until we were little old ladies. Then, last week happened when Leon was murdered, and I almost got killed with her. She was walking me back to my home after a study date when this gaggle of college-age dudes walked up behind us and started whistling and catcalling us. We're 16, so gross. Leon just stuck her head up and looped her arms in with mine as we picked up the pace. This didn't settle with one of the guys who sped up with us and grabbed Leon's arm, calling her a female dog, and asked what her problem was. I couldn't smell the booze. I could smell the booze in his breath, and I tried pulling Leon with me, saying that we have to get home as I had a curfew. I lie, as my mom doesn't really care whenever I'm there. But I hoped this freak would get the hint and just leave us alone. It didn't work. The guy refused to let Leon go and kept asking her to come with him. I can't remember what Leon had said to him to have set him off, but the next thing I remember was my head meeting the brick wall and the agonizing punch of pain of being stabbed in the back. I was lucky. He only stabbed me once. When the cops came to investigate a disturbance, Leon had been stabbed over 23 times. She was already dead. I was pretty damn close to it too. But I lived. Hell, I'm alive and my best friend is dead. The funeral was last Sunday. Our school came. People like Leon. She was popular. Could have done great things. I, on the other hand, was a social recluse who had no future and no friends other than Leon, who always made time for me. No one had the nerve to blame. No one has the nerve to blame me face to face for her death. But the only reason was out that night was to me home. Note, I say face to face. I think I'm up to 24 death threads on Facebook from 9 different people. Might be 10, but I think 2 of the accounts are the same person, as they both wrongly spelled bleach as bliche. As in drink bliche, you. And then it has a bunch of bad words that I'm not going to say. If you guys want to read it, like I said, links will be in the description. I spent all the time around the dark, in the dark since the funeral. Maybe I wanted to see that bastard again. The description I gave was shitty, and whoever his his friends are, they aren't selling him out. Maybe I just wanted to die, and was too much of a coward to do it myself. So I wanted to find that bastard to finish the job he started. But last night, somehow I wound it up in the playground. Most of the playground equipment had been replaced, the slides, the merry-go-round, the sandbox, but the swing set was still the same. A rusted testament to the first day I met Leon. I brushed my fingers to the chains on the red swing, almost laughing as if I remember her tackling me to the ground. The that almost laughter turned into sobbing as I sunk to the ground. Why couldn't God have taken me up too? You know, we were best friends. We were going to be till the end. I found myself sitting in the green swing without even remembering why I did it as I slowly swung back and forth. The playground was unnervingly quiet. I couldn't hear any birds. Little dead Nancy, sitting on the bench. I glanced at the bench the poem had to be talking about. It had almost been replaced with a much nicer looking one. When I'd gone to this school, I think one of the legs had been replaced by a brick. One eye long, one eye gone. What did the poem even mean? One eye long. Kids were just dumb. Little did Nancy. The red swing's open. I hicked another tear, waving a path down my cheek that was as far as I had gotten the time I recited. I remember Leon's face. Uh, where am I? Leon's face, eyed wide with anticipation. Anticipation for what? I really don't know. Did the little girl really think that a zombie was going to tear me apart in front of her? Again, kids were dumb, but they did. But they don't really mean it. Come, take a seat, and swing with me. Nothing, of course. I shook my head and stared at the sky. I guess I got the answer for what happens when you ask Nancy to swing with you, Leon. I murmured. Excuse me? I nearly froze as I heard a quiet voice behind me. I wiped my head. I whipped my head around and nearly fell off the swing as I saw a little girl standing there. Not a little girl, Nancy. Nancy was sitting there. Was standing there. She was cute. She was a cute little thing, blonde curls, round face. Well, what would have been cute if one of her eyes would have had been just a black sunken hole, and the other one was dangling from the socket, huh? Bobbing up against the bruised cheek. She fiddled with her pink skirt before reaching into her pocket and pulling out a tissue. You look like you need this, she said. I slowly took it, expecting her to lunge forward and bite me, but she just smiled and wiped my face off and I blew my nose. Thank you. You're Nancy? I asked, just to be sure there wasn't another little ghost girl with a missing eyeball. She nodded before taking the seat on the red swing, kicking her little white Mary Jane shoes back and forth. That's my name. Don't wear it out. I remember you, she said. Can you push me? It's really hard to get going. I don't know why I stood up and began gently pushing her, but I did. It was like touching an ice cube rather than a little girl. I swear the temperature around her had dropped to 30 degrees, and Nancy herself has was even colder. You remember me? Yup, Nancy giggled as she began to swing back and forth. Push me harder. You won't kill me. I do remember you. You almost completed the poem. Rarely anyone does the full thing. And I can't remember the last time someone did it when they were alone. Huh? At this point, I was wondering if I was seeing things and just pushing empty air. But the week had already been messed up enough, so I didn't really care. Do you remember the little girl with me? Red pigtails? Nancy hummed before she bobbed her head up and down. She seemed nice. She got murdered by a creep, and that's why I'm crying. I'm sorry. The apologize sounded quite genuine, which made the next thing came out of her mouth even more, uh, like what the hell are you going to do? Kill the creep that killed her? I laughed. I couldn't help it, and I was talking to a ghost child, and now she was recommending me homicide to fix my problems. That would land me in jail, probably forever. Even if jury would agree that he would deserve it. Plus, I don't know his name. Can't kill a guy if I don't know who he is. His name is Garth. Garth Strickland. He's 24 years old. Drives a two-door gray car that's clearly on its last legs. He's currently hiding out in his friend's house in the woods with all the other witnesses, waiting for his problems to just go away because he's a spineless coward who is trying to reason that it wasn't his fault. He was drunk. She called him names. She was dressed like a slut, so she deserved what she got. I nearly passed out, stopped pushing her, and slowly walked out to the other side. How do you know? I know a lot of things, Nancy chirped, pumping up her legs back and forth to keep up the speed. I know exactly where to find him. I know how to take him and his friends out too. Eye for an eye. She reached up and flickered her dangling eyeball, tooth for tooth. I can help you kill him and gut him so he can't do it again. You think this is the first girl he hurt? This is the first one he killed. Okay. You're not a little girl, are you? I crossed my arm. What will it cost me to get these creeps? Nancy laughed, and at the peak of the swing, swing, jumped off, landing nearly on the over on her feet before turning around. You're pretty smart. You know, there's never been a dead kid in this playground. Well, not one without the last few centuries at least. No, I'm not a little girl. I can't help. I can't be helpful though. All I ask in return is you let me tag along. You've got no actions. I've got no actions these past few years, and the old bird that croaked here forever ago doesn't count. She just happened to accidentally see what I actually look like, and her ticker couldn't take it. I'm guessing she's talking about the old lady that died. I like to say I took my time to think about it. This was serious after all, and I sure as hell couldn't trust Nancy, whatever the hell she was. But I knelt down to her height almost immediately, offering my hand to her. Deal. I'll take you back to the playground when we're done, though. Of course. I do like it here. After all, there's a reason I'm a legend among the kids. Nancy took my hand, and she changed. And she changed. She grew in size. Blonde curls turned into red hair, and dangling blue eyes turned into a shade of hazel. I nearly started crying again when I saw Leon kneeling in front of me. She cocked her head to the side before she wrapped her arms around me. The icy temperature gave away that she wasn't my friend, but God, just for a minute, I was going to pretend. I threw my arms around her and hugged her tight. I'm sorry, I said. It wasn't your fault. Don't ever think that ever again. Thank you for being my best friend. Leon whispered on my ear before I felt the chill entering my own skin. I closed my eyes as the cold crawled up my bones deep in my heart, freezing me to the very core. When I stood, I was alone, but I could feel the grief inside me turn into cold rage. Nancy's still inside of me. Every breath I take is borderline painful with a chill. I imagine touching me would be like putting my your bare hand on a frozen metal. I had to borrow my mom's car to get there. But I'm in the same town where Garth is and all the witnesses that stood by and did nothing while he murdered an innocent girl. I'll stab each and every one of them 20 times, 23 times. And each one is going to be for her. Credit to the Old Cat Lady official website, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Tumblr, Patreon. It's all there. Um, I don't think they had someone proofread this, but you know it was pretty good, grammatically correct. Pretty good story. Wow. Okay, so Nancy, little dead Nancy wasn't real. She was more like a demon, I guess. You know, because she did say that the old lady that died in the 70s kind of pretty much just flopped and died when she knew or she saw the real her. She's a shapeshifter. That's what she's a legend amongst everybody in that playground. But yes, there we go. Two creepy pastas in one episode. Um, ooh, you know, I love creepy pastas. They get me. They get my brain into into overdrive. You know what I'm saying? The initial D's playing up in there, and I am drifting around the corner as I go. But yes, that was interesting. So, thank you guys for coming. You know, I really do appreciate it. Episode 13, lucky number 13, is done and over. We will be reading some more creepypastas tomorrow, and probably on the last episode, I'll probably read something that I read last year, but this time, you know, I'll take my time. You know what I'm saying? So we'll make it more legit. And on the special for Halloween, I should be more prepared, right? So, you know, we'll look forward to that. So thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And, you know, if you guys have any interesting stories that you guys want me to read tomorrow or the last day of the season, you know, do let me know. And I'll read them and I'll give credit where credit is due, of course. You know, put them down in the comment section below as well. Like the video. You know, I'll be soon making a playlist of the of Tales from Around the Campfire, and of course, you know, adding the special in there too once we're all done with this. But yes, Thank you guys for coming. I really do appreciate it. And so, when the dust settles in and the moon begins to quell the sun, remember to always look behind you. Until the next one, peace out, everybody.